Well, hey, friends, welcome back to Rooted Refresh. Today, we're going to be diving into the rest of chapter 3 in First Peter, a powerful passage about holding on to hope when life gets hard and being ready to share that reason for our hope and the victory that Jesus has already won for us. So stick around. This one's going to refresh your soul. All right, let's dig in then. Have you ever felt like doing the right thing somehow just made life harder? Like you were trying to follow Jesus, trying to be kind, trying to live with integrity, and instead of everything just smoothing out, you ran into resistance? Maybe it was criticism or tension. Maybe you just felt that quiet, heavy feeling that faithfulness was costing a whole lot. Well, Peter gets that. He's writing to people who knew what it was like to suffer for doing good. And right in the middle of that reality, he gives us some of the most refreshing words in this whole letter. He starts with the question, who's going to harm you if you're eager to do good? There's a confidence there, a settledness, if you will. But then he quickly adds, but even if you should suffer for what is right, you are blessed. Do not fear their threats. Do not be frightened. Now, there's our first refreshing truth for today. Suffering for righteousness doesn't mean God has abandoned you. It might actually mean you're right in the middle of where He wants you to be. It means you're blessed, not because the pain feels good, but because God sees it. He's with you in the midst of the pain. Then Peter shifts the focus from the fear around us to the posture inside of us. He says, but in your hearts revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and respect. Now, this is such a beautiful picture of everyday discipleship. First, we set apart Christ as Lord in our hearts. And that's not some Sunday morning declaration. That's a daily decision to decide that Jesus is going to get the final say today, realizing that His way is better, that His presence in our life is enough. And then we are to be ready. Not ready to win an argument, not ready to shut somebody's theology down, but ready to gently, respectfully share the reason for the hope that is in us. Hope that doesn't disappear when life gets hard. Hope that holds steady when circumstances don't. Friends, the world doesn't need louder Christians. It needs hopeful ones, gentle ones, people whose lives quietly ask the question, where does this kind of peace come from? And then when someone asks, we get to point them to Jesus. Now, Peter keeps going. He says, keep a clear conscience so that when people speak against your good behavior in Christ, they end up ashamed of their slander. And then this line that lands so soft but so true. He says it is better, if it is God's will, to suffer for doing good than doing evil. Now, friends, there's freedom in that. We don't have to scramble to avoid every hard thing that comes our way. We just keep doing good. We keep walking with integrity and trust that God is writing a bigger story than the temporary pain that we're feeling. Then Peter lifts our eyes to the ultimate example. He says, for Christ also suffered once for sins, the righteous for the unrighteous, to bring you to God. He was put to death in the body, but made alive in the spirit. Now, this is the heartbeat of the gospel. Jesus, the only true righteous one, suffered for us, the unrighteous. And it's not because we earned it. It's not because we cleaned ourselves up first. But to bring us to God, He was put to death and then made alive. And the same resurrection power that He had is now the source of our hope. Peter even then connects this to the days of Noah, God's patience, the ark, the few who were saved through water. And he says baptism corresponds to that. It saves us. Now, he's clear. It's not just an act of washing, an outward cleansing, but it's an appeal to God for our clear conscience through the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So baptism isn't magic water. It is a declaration, an appeal. It's our saying yes to the finished work of Jesus. A clear conscience, not because we've never failed or won't ever fail again, but because his resurrection has now covered us in his blood that we come in contact with at baptism. Finally, look where Jesus is now. He's gone into heaven and he's at the right hand of God with the angels, the authorities, the powers all in submission to him. So everything is under his feet. Every power that tries to intimidate you, every threat that tries to silence your hope, every circumstance that feels bigger than you, it's all already subjected to the authority of Jesus. He is not just risen, he is reigning. So here's the refresh for today. You can keep doing good. You can keep hoping. You can keep gently sharing the reason for that hope. Because the one who suffered for you, he's now seated in victory. Nothing can ultimately harm the one who belongs to him. So take a breath. Let that settle in. You're not alone in the hard places. And the hope you carry isn't fragile. It's rooted in a risen, reigning King. Well, I really appreciate you spending these few minutes with me this week. If this has encouraged you, would you like it? Would you share it? Would you make sure and subscribe to the page so you don't miss a single episode? In the meantime, I hope to see you next time right here on Rooted Refresh. Stay rooted, stay hopeful, and may grace and peace abound for you this week.